Kids can bring so much joy into a marriage, but they also can bring a lot of stress. Is it possible to keep a healthy marriage while parenting through all the different ages and stages? Today on our Crossroads Parent Resource on Marriage, we're talking with Dr. David Smith about this. So kids are awesome. They really are. I have 3 of my own, but they also add stress on a marriage. So you're bringing in these other little lives into your home, and at different stages, they add different stressors. So what are some stressors that babies and toddlers add to a marriage just because of their where they are developmentally? And what are some things that marriages should be aware of, couples should be aware of, so that they keep a healthy marriage when they have babies and toddlers?
That's a good question because I think the different ages of kids depend. You have to have expectations that are in line with reality. And so a toddler and a baby, they take a lot of time, don't they? I mean,
Yes.
They take a ton of time, 24/7. You're sleep deprived. I mean, there's all these things that eating, feeding, and changing diapers, that's what you're doing. It is very, very demanding. And I think you need to expect that and realize that other things are going to have to suffer because they take up so much time. And you have to be willing to give up those things. So if you used to play golf, you're not going to play golf. If you used to go out and do these different things, you're not going to do those various things because you're committed to your kid first. Hopefully your children have more value than other things that you're doing. And you want to do that out of strength. You don't okay, I'll give it up. I won't do this. I won't do these normal things I do. Because we have a higher value to raise our kids. And this is where some people really struggle. Because you need to give up something in order to commit more time to your kids. And it's not all just a one-person job. When you're married and have kids, it's definitely both a 2-person job. So what parents need to do is realize the expectations that they have. This toddler cries and will cry, and you want to be committed to the toddler, to the infant. And that means giving up things. And you're really trying to cherish the time that you can have together, if you can, to try to capitalize on it as much as possible. And what I mean by that is that typically by giving up other things, we could say it's first taking care of our children and second taking care of each other. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it has to be. And the job and things like that are there, but that you're cutting out all the extracurricular just to be able to be together and enjoy that time. But you have to carve that out. It has to be very intentional. Most typically sex suffers when you have infants and toddlers because the mother's exhausted, the husband's exhausted, you're not in the same place to be romantic. But you can also be kind to one another, encourage one another, and enjoy watching your baby grow up. So really focus in on family first when it comes to that age.
And it sounds like this goes back to something else you've said, is just being clear with expectations of each other.
Right.
When you have babies and toddlers, talking about expectations and saying what you're feeling is probably going to be really important.
Very good, Talia. Yeah, you really want to keep communicating well with one another as far as I'm tired, I can't do this, and being able to really be more as selfless as possible during this time, but communicating, setting expectations, and just communicating back and forth. And when you find yourself short with one another, just stop and be able to say, don't let an unkind word come out until you're really okay with it. And you can say it to me in a nice way. Don't let frustration rule at all.
It's really hard when you've got
really
screaming toddlers.
But that means me owning my frustration. And when you have 3 screaming toddlers, I would really encourage, people in that to lower your expectations. Toddlers scream.
Yes.
So put earmuffs on if you need it. I mean, stress is very conditional. It's what you make it, and so you really want to look at screaming as a sense of life, a sense of joy. And when you've had too much, you need to step away. I have had people buy those noise canceling things. I mean, whatever you need to do to be able to help yourself, because sometimes just the noise is very agitating. So own what that is and try to reduce it if you can, or accept it if you can't, that this is just a stage you're going through. I always tell parents of toddlers, it gets better. That's the hardest stage, I think, by far, until they reach junior high. Hardest stage, and then it gets better, that's for sure.
So good. All right, so what are some keys to a healthy marriage when you have elementary aged kids? Because right now, especially, parents are at home with their kids, or some parents are at home with their kids as they're virtual schooling. And so as a couple, that's stressful. You as a mom, if you're a mom at home or your dad at home and you're trying to help your kids with their virtual school, they're frustrated, you're frustrated, mom and dad together are frustrated with each other. What are some stressors that elementary age kids bring on a marriage, and how can couples maintain a healthy marriage in that state when their kids are in that stage of life?
Yeah, you brought up a great point. When you're being frustrated, ask yourself, why am I frustrated? Because frustration means I have an expectation that's different from what's going on here. Mm-hmm. And so while we can continue to try to demand someone live up to the expectation, and sometimes you do, sometimes you have to realize that that's not going to happen. And so especially during this unusual time, I mean, I feel sorry for these kids that are online learning. I mean, some kids are cracked out for it. Most kids aren't. Mm-hmm. And so kids are getting frustrated too. So I think really honoring that frustration is a sign that, like, we need to take a break, we need to calm down, we need to do something different. And this age that you're talking about now, school-age children, elementary-age children, you know, they have more attention span, they can do things a little bit better, but they need breaks. They can't stay behind a computer all the time. So parents are there, both father and mother, usually helping with the schooling, which is great. But you want to build in breaks, you want to build in fun times. It just can't be all work, work, work. Kids aren't used to that kind of stuff, especially with online where you're tiring your eyes. So I really encourage marriages at this time really tag team really well. You know, to try to, you know, someone could take a certain morning, someone could take afternoon if they're both home. But we really work together through great communication again, great expectations, and realizing that we love our kids and we're going to help them through this, and we have to take our own businesses. So we really want to make sure our expectations are out there and that communication is good, and we want to hand off and be kind to one another. And we really want to realize when we get frustrated, we need to understand why we're getting frustrated and what can we do about it. And sometimes you can't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. So you just have to accept it, but not let it control you. You want to control it. So when, you know, like your kid's tired and been online on teaching and online, and there's a sense which that you can see they're getting tired. Okay, then sometimes they just need to stop and have them go do something else, a game or play or get outside, then come back to it. Sometimes school doesn't know as well as what your kid does. Mm-hmm. But you as parents want to work together and just making sure as soon as you get that word frustrated, okay, why am I frustrated and what can I do about it? You always want to answer the question, what can I do about it? And sometimes you can do something about it and sometimes you can't.
So good. So what I'm hearing is to have a healthy marriage when you're having kids this age, especially right now during COVID season, is to share the load. Yes. Tag team and communicate. What are you taking? What am I taking? I need help in this area. He needs help in that area, you know, whatever those things are. Right. So just making sure that we're sharing the load, tag teaming, and communicating about it.
Right. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. The more the merrier.
Yes. All right. So now what about if you have a junior high and high school age kids? I'm in the middle. I have two junior high age kids. They're very emotional. Mm-hmm. There's a lot happening in their world right now. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that can cause stress on a marriage because you're navigating their changing, also with all the COVID stuff. And then when they get to high school too, everything seems bigger. Like there's just, the consequences are more dire. It seems like when you've got junior high and high school kids, is they're making decisions, they're making bad choices, and that can cause stress on a marriage. So what are some of those stressors that junior high and high school age kids put on a marriage, and how can couples make sure they have a healthy marriage while raising junior high and high school age kids?
Yeah, junior high, you're going to have kids that are becoming more individual thinkers, and they may be oppositional thinkers. They may challenge more. They're going to communicate more to you about those challenges. And they're going to also tend to isolate a little bit more and take more interest in being on social media than with you. So it is a very important age to where you're drawing them out more and you're allowing for differences again, as we talked about previously, where you want to try to allow your junior higher who knows it all and can take on the whole world and, you know, run it better than anybody else, that you allow them to be able to expand that sense of understanding, because you don't want to fight that. This is a natural developmental stage. And again, understanding the stages that junior hires go through is really important because their self-esteem is being challenged. They're looking at developing their, you know, physicality. Typically, junior highs grow physically more than they grow mentally. Mm. So they're in an older body, but they're still pretty young. Yeah. And so you really want to try to protect that and try to encourage them by asking questions, which takes a lot of time, as you know. Yeah. Because you'd rather answer the question than them go to social media. Mm-hmm. So it is demanding on a marriage in a different way because it's more, you have to be more thoughtful. Just can't blow them off. Mm-hmm. And so with junior hires, you're talking about protecting your marriage by, again, tag teaming, but allowing for them to be able to be part of your conversations at the table and when you're around them, because you want to draw them out more for what they think without condemning them in any way. because their little fragile self-esteems just need to be encouraged. So you would encourage. Junior hires in general, correct me if I'm wrong, will give you more time away from you as a marriage because they enjoy being in the room alone, doing their things. So you have more time as a marriage, and what I'm finding is parents are finding maybe too much time that they're having in their couple, and they're enjoying it so much they're letting their kids bake in their room even longer, and I'd encourage now at this time to draw them out more and doing family activities, playing games, doing things that they would think are stupid, but you've got to kind of insist and press really hard that they do as a family in one-on-one time. Conquering dividing is another great thing to do with junior high, is that one person take one take the other, and do special things with them. Because even though they act like they don't want it, they want it. And so it's important to capitalize on this time, especially this COVID time, where you could spend such incredible time with your kids and really enjoy it.
So good. Is there anything different, would you say, for high school students, like that, the stressors that they bring, or would you say it's the same as the junior high?
It's the same, but on steroids, I think. I think the older you get, you typically are leaning less into your parents' wisdom and more into the world's wisdom. And so parents, I want to, allow that, but you want to lean into your kids too. Just don't let them, like if you're spending so much time with your spouse, you think you have kids anymore, that's a problem too.
Right.
Because then your kids are out doing stuff. You need to keep an eye on them. They still need the guidance and the wisdom that you have to give them. And you always would have a great relationship with them. Because you just do, because the relationship is going to count more than anything you say. And so during that time in high school, they typically want to be with their friends more and more. They have more independence, and you want to encourage that, but you also want to make sure you're checking in with them, making sure that they are thinking and believing, and especially spiritually developing them still. Make sure you have intimate times of spiritual development, of prayer, of study, of just speaking about God's wonder, and especially as they get challenged by the world with various things, that they can come to you with those kind of great questions, and you just call them stupid, but that you really work with them through all the many issues that are out there nowadays that they're being bombarded with. That's when they need their parents' wisdom more than ever.
Right. And couples can probably make sure that they're coming together and talking with their kids and making sure they're on the same page when they're having those conversations with them when they're in high school.
Because that's where you see couples start arguing together, the kids think, I just asked about transgender. I didn't know that you guys are going to start blowing up over one another. We need to be together and encouraging people. And this is where we get to have a healthy marriage allows for differences. We're just trying to understand the differences.
Right.